Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Sarlita Fiskaulia. I'm from TBI1 and my ID number is T2019-60001. Okay, today I want to explanation for you all about translation theory before the 20th century. In word-for-word theory and sense-for-sense here, the translator does not translate what the source says, but the translator translates according to the language we use in general, or can be called orator. The difference in here is that the translator usually translates what the source says, but this orator like moving the listener or conveying the meaning of the original source translations. Jerome gave a statement that translating is not by translating word for word, but the meaning of the word. The meaning is that the translator must be able to understand the message that the original source wants to convey to the listeners, the contents of the message that the source wants to convey through the words they say. But Vermeer says that the statement given by Jerome refers to literal translation or word for word. However, Jerome's statement is very clear that Jerome is against translating word for word because it can eliminate the meaning of the message he wants to tell for the reader. Jerome's reasons for refusing word for words because this way of translating must follow the original text from the text, so the result is a translation that doesn't make sense. Syntactic difference between source language and translation language be in the spotlight in the 6th century. Difficulties from the text special care is the first, the directing of the message to a new audience, and the second is the sensitivity of the source text words, and the third is the special status of the source text themselves as the cumulative work of so many followers. Language and translations became the site of a huge power struggle. Latin, controlled by the Church in Rome, had a struggle over knowledge and religion. So that meaning, which is not in accordance with the Church interpretations, is prohibited and even considered misleading, like instance the 1591 Index of the Spanish Inquisition. The most famous examples are the English theologian translator William Tyndale and the French humanist Dollet. Tyndale was a formidable linguist who was said to have mastered 10 languages, including Hebrew. Luther said to speak straight from the heart. Luther said that if translators had to see how the originals or source textbook, and then they'll understand and see that you are speaking to them. In the early theories of translations, Amos looks at the history of theory not as a record but as a for her. Theory was generally unconnected and amounts to a broad series of preface and comments by practitioners who often ignores. This lack of consecutiveness in criticism is probably partially accountable for the slowness with which translators attain the power to put into words. In contrast to Amos, Renner makes a persuasive case for continuity in the early translation preface in the West. This continuity derived from a common theoretical conceptualization of language dominance since the writing. The study of language was divided into grammar and sentence and rhetoric. Grammar privilege words that exhibits the values of properties prioritas, and perspicuitas. A word should be accepted as an integral part of the language and commonly understood, and it should have a long history and be employed in the text of high-status writers. In 1619, Dryden Sage reduced all translation to three categories. The first, metaphrase, and the second, paraphrase, and the third is imitation. Metaphrase is a term referring to literal translations like word by word and line by line. In everyday usage, metaphrase means literalism. Is that metaphrase is a literal word-for-word translation, while paraphrase is restatement of text in different words, often to clarifying the meaning. Is that metaphrase is word-for-word translations, and paraphrase is often to clarifying the meaning, and imitations is departs from the original at the pleasures of the translation and really construct a new poem on the basis the old. Delaet has 5 principles. The first is the translation must perfectly understand the sense and the material of the original author. And the second is the translator should have a perfect knowledge of both source language and translation language. And the three is the translator should avoid word-for-word renderings. And the four, the translator should avoid Latinate and unusual forms. And the last is the translator should assemble and words eloquently to avoid clumsiness. If Delaet has 5 principles in here, Tytler has 3 general laws or rules. The first, translation should give a complete transcript of the ideas of the original works. Jadi, penerjemah yang diterjemahkan oleh translator itu harus sesuai dan sama dengan skrip aslinya. Tidak ada yang kurang dan tidak ada yang dilebih-lebihkan. Kemudian yang kedua, the style and manner of writing should be of the same character with that the originals. Baik karakternya ataupun style dari penulisannya itu harus sama dengan teks asli yang diberikan oleh sumber asli. Kemudian, the translation should have all the ease of the